Doom: The Dark Ages is the latest entry from Bethesda in their reboot of the Doom series. With a new parry mechanic along with other new types of missions, they aim to reinvent the series while staying true to its foundation. But with a price point of $70, is it worth the price to play? Doom: The Dark Ages has been in development for 4 to 5 years following the hit Doom Eternal in 2020. They aim to slow down the fast pace of the previous two titles, but implement the classic projectile dodging it's known for. With its team of developers shaking up and blending elements from the past, this game does one thing that all Doom games have done well, and that is the gun gameplay and the fun. Despite some of its other shortcomings, this game is fun. You can always sit back and just enjoy the dumb fun that comes with it. The movement is solid, and every gun feels crisp and powerful. No gun in particular felt like it wasn't powerful enough to use, especially as you progressed. The progress and weapons you unlocked were spread out just enough to let you play around with them, but also not too far apart to make you bored. Along with plenty of upgrades for each of these weapons, it was a nice mix. Now, where the gameplay seems to fall short is in the mech sections and the dragon sections. Now, obviously, these sections were short and sweet and added a nice little fluff or fill-in content to fill in those extra gaps. But honestly, I could have gone without them. Yes, the mech was fun the first time, but after you do it a few times, you're just kind of like, all right, let's get to the next level. But overall, the gameplay is nice and crisp and just overall fun. With that being said, we score the gameplay at an 8 out of 10. Now moving on to the story. The story is okay, but nothing to write home about. The story beats were expected, and nothing that was happening was really mind-blowing or heart-wrenching. The characters were fun to watch and follow along with, and Doom Guy and Prince Ashtray, as I called him, were obviously the most standout of the crowd. Not too much to really dwell upon with the story. It was decent. It was something to watch in the cutscenes and kind of follow along with, but everything was pretty predictable when you kind of just started to get a feel for what was happening. With that being said, we give the story a 6 out of 10. The graphics were nice and looked real crisp for Doom, especially comparing it to the original, but there wasn't really any extraordinary graphics or mind-blowing things that you came across. Not to say that it looked bad, and a lot of the set pieces and just maps were gorgeous, especially when you came across the cliffs where you saw a sprawling battlefield going on in the background. But it looks as good as one would expect a game coming out in 2025. There was nothing groundbreaking or revolutionary, but it looked good enough for you to not even think about it and have fun. Now, the audio does leave something to be desired. Yes, the sound effects for the guns and the kills were crisp, powerful, and visceral, and just brings you right into the front seat, but the music wasn't what it used to be. Despite saying that, the music was still good enough for me to enjoy the game just running around and killing demons. It'll still get your blood pumping, but it just doesn't have that extra grasp that it used to have. With that being said, the graphics and the audio score a 7 out of 10. Now on to performance. On the base PS5 I was using, I didn't come across any issues in my playtime. I did attempt to play on the Portal with it, and it worked very well. The only issue I came across was with the weapon wheel. Even on or off the Portal, a few times it would act as if there was a delay input, or it just wasn't clear or honed in on what I was selecting, as it could have been, you know? It's hard to explain, but the laggy delay of the weapon kind of discouraged the rapid changing of multiple weapons mid-fight, to where in some situations, you would just use the two that were just automatically equipped that you could swap between quickly. The shield and the parrying mechanics were a nice touch. The shield adds a lot more mobility that you probably wouldn't expect to come with a shield as a new weapon, and the parrying mechanics are just something that's just plaguing the whole industry as a whole right now. Every single game is adding parrying mechanics. And where it does work in a lot of places, a lot of times you just kind of think to yourself, did I really need to have parrying in this Doom game? Other than that, they were a nice add-on just to be able to master that and to add some extra movement capabilities. With that being said, the performance was nothing too crazy to write home about, but at the same time, it performed well enough to where I didn't really even notice any issues. So with that, we give it a 7 out of 10. Now, replayability. The replayability in this game is great. I put in about 24 hours to complete the story with only a little bit of collecting trinkets and completing weapon challenges. With the amount of customization they put in the settings for difficulty and adding different challenges, along with the weapon challenges and the collectibles, there is plenty of time that one could just sink their teeth into. So this, by far, is a game that has a lot of replayability. So that we give an 8 out of 10. Now, as for innovation, while introducing new mechanics such as the shield and the parrying, and new story missions such as the mech and the dragon mount, there isn't much innovation going on here. While the shield and the parrying have added a little bit more movement and options in the combat system, it seems to be somewhat contentious for fans. I believe they're a welcome addition, but some may disagree. And again, the mech and the dragon, they look great, especially when the dragon does its takedowns, but at the end of the day, it just kind of felt like filler. So with that being said, on innovation, we scored it a 4 out of 10. After adding up all the totals and then weighing them according to their category in this genre, our algorithm gave this game a final price point of $51.10. Save your money. It's clear that this game was priced a little bit above what it was actually worth. Wait for this game to go on sale because it is a lot of fun. Just simple, good fun. However, with that being said, it is not worth the $70 price tag that comes with it. I thank you for watching. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed this new idea that I've come up with to, instead of giving a game just some arbitrary score, to actually compare it to the price that they're selling it for and to give it a final price based off of that. That way, you're not looking at a 7 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10 and thinking, well, that seems okay. Where you actually get to see a price point to give you an ability to decide if a game is worth, say, the extra $20 in this sense. Again, thank you for watching, and I hope you stick around, because we will keep an eye on this game, and we will give you updates of when it goes on sale and hits that price point that we originally marked. And hey, if they add more content in the future for free, then that'll bring that price point up for us too. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow, and that way you can stay up to date with the price of play. Thanks. I'll see you in the next one.